All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on one of the most important, yet pretty much invisible pieces of tech that powers our digital lives. We're talking about the API. You might not see them, but they are the secret engine making everything on the internet just work.
I mean, really think about it for a second. How does a travel website pull flight data from a dozen different airlines all at once? Or how can you log into a brand new app with your Google account in just one click? It honestly feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's all about the power of APIs.
Okay, so let's dive right in. To really get what an API is, we're going to use a super simple analogy that I promise you'll never forget. Just think of an API as a waiter in a restaurant. So picture this. You're sitting at your table, you've looked at the menu, and you know exactly what you want to order. In the digital world, you, or the application you're using, you're the client. You've got a specific request you need to make. Now, way in the back, you've got the kitchen. It has all the food, the chefs, the equipment, basically everything needed to make your meal. This is the server. It's the system that holds all the data or the power you're trying to get to. But here's the thing. You can't just get up and barge into the kitchen and start yelling out your order, right? There are rules, there's a process you gotta follow. You need someone in the middle to handle that communication for you. And that right there is the API. The waiter is the API. It takes your specific order, your request, carries it back to the kitchen in a language the kitchen understands, and then brings back exactly what you ordered, the response. The API does the exact same thing, but for software. It's the messenger that makes all that communication possible. So now that you've got that picture in your head, let's look at the official definition. An application programming interface, or API, is just a set of rules that lets different apps talk to each other. You can think of it like a service contract between two pieces of software, spelling out exactly how they're going to talk. Here's another great way to think about it. APIs are like Lego bricks. Seriously, instead of a developer having to build every single part of an app from scratch, they can just use APIs to snap together existing services, things like payment systems, maps, or social media logins, to build something totally new and do it way, way faster. So, what does that whole waiter interaction actually look like in the real world? Technically speaking. Well, it all boils down to a really simple, elegant cycle: a request and a response. It's really just a four-step dance. First, the client app sends a request. That's you, ordering from the menu. Second, the API gets it and checks your credentials, just to make sure you're allowed to ask. Third, the server, that's the kitchen, gets the thumbs up and does the work. And finally, the server sends the response back through the API to you, the client. Simple as that. This right here is a really great way to clear up some confusion. You've heard of a user interface, or a UI, right? That's for humans. It's the buttons and screens you actually see and touch. But an API, that's an interface for software to talk to other software. It's the under-the-hood magic that you never, ever see. Okay, so not all APIs are the same. Just like a restaurant might have its main dining room open to everyone, but also a private room for a party, and maybe a special table reserved for partners, well, APIs have different levels of access too. This table breaks it down perfectly. You've got public APIs, which are open for any developer out there to use. Think of a weather service. Then you have partner APIs, which are shared between specific businesses, like an airline letting a travel site access its booking system. And finally, there are private APIs, which are just used inside a company to make all their own software talk to each other. And now we get to the really cool part. We've talked about what they are, how they work, so let's look at just how deep this invisible network runs in your everyday life. I think you're going to be pretty surprised. Have you ever used that sign in with Google or sign in with Facebook button? Of course you have. Well, that amazing convenience is an API, securely checking who you are without you having to make yet another password. Or how about when you click Pay with PayPal on some shopping site? You're not actually using that site's payment system. An API is securely connecting you to PayPal to do the deal and then sending the confirmation right back. You know that little map showing a restaurant's location on their contact page? Yeah, that's not their map. It's an API call to something like Google Maps, which just embeds its power right onto their website. And that travel site we keep talking about, it's basically a masterclass in how to use APIs. It's sending out dozens of API calls to different airlines and hotels, grabbing all the responses, and then putting them all together for you on one single screen. It's incredible. So here's the real takeaway. APIs aren't just some techie convenience. They are the fundamental engine of modern business and innovation. In fact, they've created this whole API economy where a company's data or services can actually become a product. They're what make our connected world even possible. It really just boils down to these four key benefits. First, integration. They just connect different systems. Easy. Second, innovation. They let developers build new stuff so much faster. Third is expansion. They help businesses get their services out onto new platforms. And finally, and this one's huge, security. The API is a gatekeeper, sharing only what's necessary and nothing more. To really wrap your head around the scale of all this, just look at this number, 1,200. Seems random, right? So what on earth could that represent?
Well, get this. That's the average number of cloud applications that a single large company is using. And the thing connecting that massive, complex web of software so it all works together? You guessed it, APIs. They are literally the glue holding modern business technology together.
So to wrap this whole thing up, I'm just going to leave you with this final thought. Just imagine what would happen if, for one day, all the world's APIs just stopped working. Your social feeds wouldn't update, you couldn't check the weather, online shopping would grind to a halt, and countless businesses would just stop. It really shows you just how critical this invisible engine truly is.